Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Dr. Colin Zhu, and thank you so much for being here with us. This is the Thrive Bites podcast, and welcome to season 5. Here we talk about 3 things: plant-powered living, enhancing emotional resilience, and creating a thriving mindset. And I interview the most passionate guests here, ranging from physicians to coaches to dietitians to entrepreneurs. And my hope is to give you really informative and high-valued conversations. So please follow us here on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and wherever you hear your podcasts. Come on in, and I can't wait to see you inside. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Thrive Bites podcast. I'm your host again, Dr. Colin Zhu, and I am joined by Nastasha McKeon, and she is the founder of Choice Juicery. She is located all over San Diego, voted number 1 for her juices and smoothies and her bowls. She has a wonderful story about her whole food plant-based lifestyle in terms of a loved one that she has lost, to her transition to her own lifestyle incorporation, to helping others and find a better way of healing, for making food, plant-based food, more flavorful and colorful. So you don't want to miss this. And she has a wonderful demo to show us as well. So stay tuned. Okay, guys. Well, welcome to another episode of Thrive Bites. I'm your host, Dr. Colin Zhu, and thank you so much for being here with us. You could have been anywhere in the world, and you decided to share just a few precious moments with us, and we are very, very appreciative. So for today, to exchange for your time, we have a great session today. I am joined by the lovely guest, Nastasha McKeon. I think I pronounced that right. We're just going off of that a little bit offline. But she is a executive chef / founder / CEO. And she holds a certification in plant-based nutrition from Cornell University and a holistic nutrition certificate from Natural Healing Institute. She has an extensive background in health and wellness and has taught plant-based cooking classes at Scripps Hospital, in addition to consulting with restaurant brands on how to incorporate healthy options to their menu. She is also a raw food cleanse expert and has worked with other local brand assisting with product development systems, education, and sales prior to starting Choice Juicery, which is the name of her company. And she has a great passion for educating people about the impact of their food choices as it pertains to their long-term health, as well as the health of our planet, which I love. And she started Choice Juicery June 18th of 2014 with her first store in Carlsbad. And she has gone on to open a total of 6 locations all over San Diego. So without further ado, please welcome Nastasha. Hello.
Hi. Thanks so much for having me on.
Yes, our pleasure. Thank you so much for taking the time out. I'm sure you are a very busy woman. 6 locations. Are there 5 other clones to run these juiceries?
I wish, but I do have some really incredible managers in place that life would not be possible without them. So
Awesome.
I'm very grateful for that.
Awesome. I've yet, so I'm actually right outside of Irvine, and I've always wanted to go down to Carlsbad. I heard it's a really lovely place, so definitely would love to check it out on one of your locations. So I love what you do. I think your website, all the social media handles you have, and obviously the nature of your work is super, super colorful. So I love to know the origin story of our guests, how they got from point A to point B, and what inspired you to go down this route of holistic healing? It sounds like, from the breadth of your resume, was it a personal challenge? Was it a, personal health challenge through a family member, a client? Like, what got you, towards this route?
Such a great question. I love getting that one. For me, it really started, I would say, early in life. The seed was planted. It didn't really take root until later in life. But when I was around 11, I lost a loved one to an autoimmune disease. She actually died from complications of the prescription she was given to treat the symptoms. of the
Mm.
autoimmune disease. And well, prior to losing her, my life was already pretty tough. She was like a light for me in a dark place. So after losing her, you can imagine life went from bad to much worse. And I remember, hearing the story of her passing and really feeling the sense of Western medicine failing her at that time, and being kind of frustrated, being 11, being confused, and kind of thrown into a really chaotic situation without her. I remember just like I really put all that frustration on Western medicine and how they didn't help her.
Mm.
And so I remember around the time of her passing, I was clearing out the effects of her room. And I remember finding this like gift bag someone had given her, and it had a book in it. And the book hadn't even been opened, it hadn't been taken out of the bag yet. And the book, the title of it was something along the lines of How to Heal Yourself Naturally, What the Doctors Don't Want You to Know. I was like, what is this? What don't they want me to know? A catchy title. But the idea in the book was just simply that food is medicine. And
Mm.
that was an idea I had really never been exposed to. I grew up, with a lot of food scarcity, and certainly didn't have access to like healthy, clean foods. Lived on like the dollar menu at fast food restaurants. So that was
Mm.
something really foreign to me, but the seed was definitely planted. And as I mentioned earlier, it didn't really take root until later in life. But I mean, even that year, I remember being at like a New Year's Eve party with, some family members, and everyone was going around giving things up for the new year. And I knew soda was bad for me. I was 11, and I was like, well, I'm giving up soda for the year. And then I never drank it again from 11 years on. So
Yeah.
it was like, little by little over my life until I was probably in my early 20s, before I had really developed my nutritional philosophy. But I looking back, always know that that's where the seed was planted, with like the love and the desire to want to make better choices, but not having
Mhm.
access to the information, kind of having to like do research on my own. We don't really learn about it in school. Like nobody
Mm.
in my family was teaching it to me. So I had no idea. I really had to find it on my own. But I would say that the desire to find that information started in my early 20s.
Mm.
So, but then from there, I would say, it was a culmination of things. I had a really successful career in the banking industry in my early 20s. I was doing pretty well for myself. And, life, I was doing all the things that we're supposed to do, right? Buy a house and, do all the things and have a family. But I didn't have a lot of fulfillment in my life outside of my kids. And I remember I was working with a business client one day, and he said, if you love what you do, you'll never work another day in your life. And
Mhm.
that's kind of the turning point in my life, was when he said that to me. I was like, well, what do I love? And I realized it was sitting in the break room, eating my little like quinoa salad and like,
Mhm.
or whatever it was that I made that day. I'd always make extra for everybody to share.
Mm.
And people were always like, what'd you make today? And what's in that? And that's good for me. It tastes so good. And I realized my passion was making healthy food that tastes good. So that people could see that eating healthy didn't have to be a compromise over taste buds. Because that was kind
Mm.
of the idea of everyone around me, was like, oh, I, life's too short. I want to enjoy the food that I eat. I'm like, you can enjoy the food you eat, and you can make healthy choices at the same time. So it's kind of like from there that I decided, okay, what do I do with this? How do I take that and make that my, career path. So
Run with it. Yeah. Yeah. No,
yeah,
for
yeah.
sure. No, I love the story. I'm sorry to hear about your loved one, your friend.
Thank you.
You know, it's very, obviously working in the healthcare industry, it's almost like you have to develop a thick layer to be able to see death after death. And, being in our third year of the pandemic, and hopefully, we're seeing a wind down of everything. We're doing this recording in May right now. We could see unnecessary death, right? And a lot of it, keeps pointing back to, how well or how healthy we were to begin with before we got
Mm,
sick. And I think a
yes.
lot of it is we don't think about it in a lot of that kind of way. And which goes back to what I do on a daily basis. But I love that story because, you not only is it talking about nutrition, health, and getting back to the basics in a way, but it's also, I love how, you decided to go after what you're passionate about.
Mm.
And, sometimes it's just a saying, it's a hashtag, it's a trend, right?
Yeah.
But, not
Yeah.
many people actually really go, to that length. And your resume is pretty impressive. And, it culminated to 6 locations of a juicery. And, that just shows that, so successful, not just in terms of the product, but it speaks to, your mission, your overall mission, which is really helping people out and not compromising, the flavors. So I appreciate that, culinary wise as well. So
Thank you. Thank you.
so my next question from that is, personally for you, has it changed when you went more plant-based in your own life? Did you, were you always plant-based, number one, or vegetarian or vegan from the get-go? Or, as you were transitioning, did you see, any differences within your own health?
Absolutely. That's a great question too. I didn't start off, definitely didn't grow up that way. Grew up on carne asada burritos and all the things growing up in San Diego. So I definitely did not grow up that way. And I don't really feel like I found the plant-based lifestyle until I was about early 20s, like 22. I think I gave up red meat. I had been hearing a lot and reading a lot that red meat was like not great for the heart. And being that my loved one had actually died of a heart attack, which was a side effect of the medication, I was always a little bit heart conscious. I think on the other side of my family, there's like all kinds of heart challenges. So being conscious of the heart stuff, and then also for ethical reasons, I think I saw something on the news where there was like this mad cow disease meat recall, and I never really connected to like the food on my plate and like I just never made that connection. And I remember seeing this news segment where they were like, forklifting these cows and putting them in a discard pile, but they were all alive. And it was like really, seeing that, I was like, gosh, it's not good for me. And that's like really awful to see that that's what's happening. And that's how these animals are being treated. So, kind of went cold turkey with that. So the first thing I gave up was red meat. And, I think maybe a couple weeks later, someone was like, well, why just red meat? Why not like all the other things are also, equally. So a couple weeks later, I gave up, chicken, turkey, all the other stuff except for, I stayed pescatarian. I think it was for a year. So I did fish and eggs and dairy, but I stayed away from all meat. And that worked, wonders. I mean, right away, I noticed a huge impact. I was also, wasn't eating fast food anymore. I wasn't eating, just processed foods, and I wasn't eating any of those foods. I was eating more of like a Mediterranean diet. And I immediately noticed a massive benefit to like my energy levels, my mental clarity. Like they always say, you don't know that you feel bad until you experience feeling good. And I would say the number one thing, the cleaner my diet got, or the more plant-based I became, like the more plants I ate. And I think that's one thing we can all agree on. Like we should all eat more plants. I'm not here to say the whole world should be, plant-based and only eat plant-based and be a strict plant-based. That works for me. That's been wonderful for me. But I think we can all agree that eating more plants is good for our health. And so it's truly medicine. Like, food is medicine, plant food is medicine. And so I, just started eating more plants, right? Naturally, if you're not eating those things, you're omitting those things. What do you eat? So I started getting really creative in the kitchen and started making meals out of plants. And that got real fun for me. But also the more creative I got and the closer I got to this whole foods plant-based diet, the better and better I felt. I mean, if I look back at pictures of myself, in my mid 20s to now I'm almost 40 years old, I look better today than I looked then. Like, in terms of like my skin and my energy levels and like my body, even like my body changed as a result of it. My energy changed as a result of it. The light and the spark inside of me changed as a result of it. So, I mean, there's so many different reasons for me why it was beneficial. I didn't know I even had a dairy intolerance. This is an interesting story. My whole life, I grew up, and maybe TMI, but Chef Doc podcast. So I grew up super constipated, like it was just normal in our family. My mom had it, I had it, my daughter had it. It was just like a normal thing. I remember going to the doctor one time and the doctor asked my mom when my last movement was, and my mom being like, I was like a week or so ago. And the doctor was like, what? Like, what? This is not okay. We're like, oh no, it runs in the family. It's totally normal, But when I cut out dairy, I immediately became regular. And I always was really congested. My daughter was really congested. Her pediatrician used to tell me that we should consider having her adenoids removed because she was just so congested all the time. Well, we removed dairy from our diet and immediately all of that cleared up. So a lot of times, you think like your health issues run in your family, but really your diet runs in your family more often than not. I'm sure I'm both, but definitely your diet runs in your family. So for me, it's just worked wonders on my life and my health and even for my family members. So it's been incredible.
Yeah. 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 There's so many pieces to that. Just hearing about my own patients, stories and their individual journeys and, how they've kind of traversed everything. It's a big thing when you make changes. Number one, making changes is hard. I think that's really the core and foundation, of what, I talk about a lot on this podcast, which is lifestyle medicine, which is using evidence-based, lifestyle approaches to prevent, treat, and reverse chronic disease. And, when you go through these motions, and you start to get better, like you said, you don't realize how sick you were because people nowadays are just chronically sick. You start to see even childhood obesity, even diabetes, being more and more common and prevalent in younger and younger ages. I believe the first guest that I interviewed for this season, she was diagnosed with colon cancer before the age of 50. Twice, not just once, but twice. And, chronic disease is becoming more and more prevalent. And what are we doing to slow that down? I mean, there is a lot that's happening to increase it, from, the food industry to the environmental toxins to, all this other, stuff, great. We've gotten really great with, decreasing smoking, but there's all this other stuff. So, I say all that to say that, when you make the steps, and I behoove you to, make the steps, you will feel better. Like, Nastasha is saying so.
Yes. I love that. Just on a side note, when I mentioned back in the break room, sharing my little quinoa salad with all of my, coworkers, one of the things that happened before I was even like trained in nutrition, just self-taught at that point. One of the gals that I worked with, she was in her 50s and she had type 2 diabetes, and she started just like, I would give her food and she would eat it and like it. She would take the recipe home, and I was giving her recipes, and she started changing the way she was eating to a predominantly plant-based diet. And her doctor was like, what are you doing? Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. And they kept moving her insulin down until she was completely off of insulin because of just the changes that she was making to her diet. And then she started exercising and she had the energy to. So just to speak to that, it's just amazing what changing your diet can do to prevent and sometimes even treat some of these, diet related issues.
Yeah, for sure. So my next question is that, why juicing is my natural, curiosity, question, why it could have been anywhere in the realm of whole food plant-based, why juicing, and why kind of go down that route?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, juicing really for me had such a major impact when I, was speaking earlier about like, you don't know that you feel bad until you're experiencing it feeling good for the first time. And so I feel like most people, like you said, are living with chronic inflammation or, fatigue, or they're living with these things they don't even know they're living with. That's just their homeostasis. That's just what they're used to. They don't even know that they feel bad because they've never experienced what it's like to actually feel good. And so for me, I had that experience, even when I was like one of the healthier people I knew going back to my early 20s, in terms of, I don't eat fast food and I don't eat this and I don't eat that, but I still ate a lot of inflammatory foods for me, right? I ate a lot of, bread and pasta and all the things that everyone loves, certainly me. But it had an effect on my body. So I remember kind of like craving, like, oh, I want to try this cleanse. So I tried a cleanse. And I ended up doing it was a 30-day cleanse. It's pretty extreme, but it did incorporate more than just juice, but it was a lot of juice. And I remember for the first time in my life having just unbounded energy. I mean, I was like the Energizer Bunny. I'd get up in the morning, I'd go for a surf, I'd go for a run, I'd go climbing with friends. I was like, I need more to do. Like I had so much energy and I couldn't believe it. And so it was the first time I really experienced what it was like to actually feel so good in my body, like my own potential in my body. And when I got off of the cleanse, I noticed I craved salads, I craved greens, I craved veggies. And that's when I really learned, people always say you are what you eat, but I say you crave what you eat. It's like you eat fried foods, you're going to crave fried foods. When you eat sweets and sugar, you get like this little sugar monster inside of you that's like, feed me. So it's like the same thing. It's not often that we sit down and eat platefuls of greens, right? But all the live, minerals and vitamins and essential nutrients that are inside of those things are just, they can change your body on a cellular level. And so when you sit down and you drink, like, for example, cold pressed juices, which is what I'm really passionate about, it's got up to 6 pounds of organic produce in every bottle. I mean, when am I going to sit down and eat 6 pounds of, spinach and broccoli and whatever? Like, I love, people always like, is it, well, smoothies or juices, or should I just eat green? It's like all of it. Yes, all of it. Like, there's not one over the other. You want the fiber, of course, but also like flooding your system with that much live nutrition is pretty incredible. And you really do just start to change on a cellular level. I'll find people that don't like greens, and they start drinking green juice, and before they know it, they're craving salads, and they're adapting and changing. So it's pretty cool. So that's why I'm passionate about juice. I have my own personal experience with it. It definitely changed the way that I eat and the foods that I crave. And I just think it's a potent tool. A lot of people will say, oh, well, do a juice cleanse, it's going to detox you. I don't, maybe there's some like detoxification benefits with juice, but our bodies are magically designed to do that for us.
Yes.
Our bodies are magically designed to detox us. The problem is, just like I'm sure you can appreciate this with, I imagine, like having, being a doctor and having patients, like you probably work crazy hours like I do as an entrepreneur. When I work too much, when I'm overworked, the quality of my work starts to suffer. When I'm working like a 60-hour week, when I'm building out a new store, which I'm about to jump into, the quality of my work starts to suffer. My brain is just struggling. I'm not doing as good of a job as I could be doing if I was, not working as much, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like the same is true for our bodies and our detoxification systems. We're always eating. We never take a break from eating. We're always snacking in between meals, and we're eating meals, and we're eating too much food and too much of the wrong food more often than not. And so I feel like we overwhelm our system. And so I love juicing because it kind of gives your detoxification system a break, or not your detoxification system, but more so like you're not having to digest and metabolize food. And so it just gives your system a break, and it kind of allows your body to really like kick into gear. So I don't think it's a juice necessarily that's like detoxing you or cleansing you, but I think it's just giving your digestive system a break and letting your body do what it was designed to do, which is detox you. So.
Yeah. No, it's, I would definitely agree. I think a lot of, what we talk about, here and in popular, health outlets is, we always go from, what's the best diet, or, go from this to that, Jenny Craig's The Weight Watchers to, it's always this ping pong of, which diet's going to win out. And at the end of the day, we don't really talk about, a lot about, we talk about quality, but we don't talk about quantity, and less so we don't talk about frequency, and so we do, nowadays we are beginning to talk more about fasting, different types of it, intermittent fasting. And, so it's very, very interesting to see what the, past research has shown, and, the upcoming research is going to show about, what happens when we actually take a break and actually not put something into our system, right? I think that's also another way of, another approach to healing. How would you define, a cleanse, and how would you define, detox from your experience and knowledge, as opposed to what's popularly shown, on media? Hey guys, if you are interested in having a consultation with me and actually see me one-on-one, the Chef Doc Lifestyle Medicine practice has partnered with Plant-Based Telehealth, and we offer lifestyle medicine consultations. So you'll be able to see me one-on-one, and I can go over your health history and seeing what we can do to fill in the gaps. We can talk about your physical health anything from food to lifestyle to diet to setting up your kitchen to cooking preparation to grocery shopping to your mental health. I think it's important that we build our emotional resilience to talking about your sleep and how to stay hydrated and what are the best medicines if necessary, what are the best supplementations if necessary. And we do all this in a very concise manner, and it's a conversation. I take the time out to listen. I take the time out to really understand you from the ground up and to look at all aspects of your physical, emotional, and mental health. And please, drop me a line, schedule an appointment if you want to see me one-on-one. And I am very, very looking forward to learning more about you. And again, thank you so much for visiting here at the Chef Doc.
Yeah. Well, for a long time, I had an aversion to the word cleanse because of the master cleanse, right? Like teaching people to like crash diet and drink just water with cayenne and maple or whatever it would cayenne, maple, lemon water. And,
lemon.
Like, oh my gosh. To me, that's like the worst thing that you could do. And again, I'm not a doctor, but I don't think starving your body of nutrition is the best approach, depending upon what your goals are. I know a lot of people want to, when they cleanse, typically what I find, a huge amount of my business is cleanse business. Of course, I also, we have the cafes and all this stuff, but we do a lot of cleanse business. And, I would say 80% of the people that come to us to cleanse are cleansing because they want to, maybe they have a healthy lifestyle, but they went out and splurged for, the weekend or whatever, and they want to get back on track. Or maybe, they're not so healthy and they want, they're looking for help, help me get healthy. Let me start here. And then where do I go from there? I don't know yet, but let me do this cleanse. And maybe after this cleanse, I can start making better choices. And then obviously some people just want to shed a couple of pounds and kind of kick off a healthier way of eating. And what I find is most of the cleanses out there, like the master cleanse and these cleanses, are not designed for long-term success. They're designed for short-term crash results, which actually have negative impacts on the body, in my opinion. And from what I've, researched, it's like, you're throwing your body into starvation and deprivation. And as soon as you're done, you haven't been flooding your system with nutrition. You haven't given yourself anything. So you're just like, anything. I want that pizza and that beer as quick as possible,
Yeah.
Whereas for us, we have a few different cleanse programs. Our most popular one is our 3-day cleanse program. And I love it because on day 4, people are always back in the store. I'm like, wait, you're off your cleanse. What are you doing here? But because they're craving good quality, they're not out there craving that pizza and that beer. They're like, no, I want to keep feeling the way I'm feeling. And this stuff is really good. Let me keep doing this. And so what I find is because we don't subscribe to that idea of just strictly juicing, we incorporate foods with our cleanse. The juices on our cleanse are kind of designed mindfully, calorically mindfully. There's it's not a huge crash diet. There's not a lot of calorie depletion. You're getting plenty of calories on the cleanse. You're getting tons of, you're getting protein, you're getting omegas, fiber, you're getting tons of live nutrition.
All the good stuff. Yeah.
All the good stuff. So it's not like a crash diet. It's not designed to be that. I always tell people I'm looking to fit into my wedding dress by Friday. I'm like, this is not the cleanse for you. We're not here to starve you and get you skinny. We're here to help you kick off a new way of eating. After our cleanse, you'll feel nourished and refreshed and ready to.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's almost like it sounds like you're re-nourishing them in a way.
Yes, absolutely. So that's my philosophy with juicing and with cleansing. I just think it's a very powerful tool when used correctly. And I'm also a huge advocate for intermittent fasting. I love that you talked about that. But I love to intermittent fast. It's been a really powerful tool for me and my health. And I'm excited to see what the research is showing in the next couple of years as well regarding fasting and intermittent fasting.
Yeah. Super, super excited about that as well. We can always eat less, that's for sure.
Yes, that's the truth.
Yeah. So before we go into, I know you're going to be presenting us with a demo, and we're super excited. Nastasha was saying that she hasn't done a demo for a podcast, so we're really excited. So before we go into that, what is involved in juicing in terms of equipment? Is there any special tools or utensils? Walk us through that.
Yeah. I know we'll mention this in a minute, but I wrote a book called Plant Food as Medicine, and I have a whole section of juicing in the book. And I have a lot of like recommendations in terms of like juicers and things like that. The main thing when it comes to juicing, for me is we want to stay away from juices that are going to cause friction and heat in the extraction process. So like centrifuge juicers, things like this. There's an incredible amount of equipment on the market now that didn't exist when I got into this years ago. So I feel like people are really lucky. When I was getting into juicing, like the only cold press juicer or slow juicer that was on the market was like the Norwalk, and it was, a few $1,000s and not really sustainable for the average like household to go buy like a couple $1,000 juicer. So nowadays there's the Omega has a really great like slow masticating juicer. There's the Nama, there's the Pure juicer. There's so many like really great options with a wide variety. But the main thing to remember is like you want to stick with something that's like a slow juicer, a masticating juicer, a cold juicer. You just want to stay away from those ones that like spin around and create friction and heat and start to oxidize the produce. And for a couple of reasons. Obviously, we don't want to oxidize the produce right away, but also you have a little bit of a longer shelf life with a masticating or a slow juicer. So it makes it more sustainable to juice at home. I mean, obviously, I want everyone buying their juice from me, but that's not sustainable for everybody and certainly not every day. So juicing at home, I think one of the biggest setbacks for people is like, it's so much work. And I'm not going to lie, it's a lot of work. Probably why I love owning a juice business is I can like walk in and grab a juice anytime now. But like juicing at home is a lot of work. There's so much cleanup involved with all the different components. I mean, you have to really be prepared to juice. So if you're juicing and you can only juice centrifuge juice, you got to drink it immediately because it starts to oxidize right away. So having the ability to juice and like be able to stick some in your fridge for the week, so you only have to do it like once or twice a week, is way more sustainable for people. So I really recommend sticking with like a masticating or a slow cold juicer.
So when you say masticating, I think of chewing, right? That's what masticate means. So in terms of the actual, in terms of the machine, what does it actually do?
So it just, instead of spinning and extracting with heat and friction, it's literally like it's slowly, like almost as if you will, chewing up that produce and slowly. So it's a longer process, but you're getting a product that you can actually stick in the fridge for a couple of days versus like something you need to drink right away.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I didn't know the breakdowns in terms of reducing the preventing more of the oxidation process and lowering the heat. That makes a lot of sense. So
it's just like imagine like cooking your broccoli, right? We always know like, okay, if I cook my broccoli, I'm gonna, or my veggies, like the more we cook it, like the more we lose. Not that there's anything wrong with cooked vegetables too, but obviously the more pure we can get them, the better it is in terms of the nutrition we're taking in. So
yes, definitely. Okay, so why don't we go into the demo and see what you have going on?
Awesome. So for today, my book has all kinds of fun stuff. What I'm really known for is juice and smoothies. So today we're going to actually do a smoothie demo. I'm going to do one of my favorite smoothies, which is the Blue Hero. This one is really awesome. I love smoothies. Are just such an easy way to pack nutrition in. Stick that in there so you can see what's in there. Smoothies are just an awesome way to pack in nutrition. Especially, I'm a mom. I'm a single mama of 3. And so one of the biggest challenges for me is making sure that my kids are getting in like their greens or their, vitamins and minerals. And one of the easiest ways to sneak stuff like that in is in a smoothie. So I love making green smoothies. This one is actually a blue smoothie, and it has blue magic, which is really the bell of the ball in this recipe. So it also has hemp seeds in there. So you're getting all kinds of omega, you're getting calcium, you're getting fiber, protein. It also incorporates the protein that I actually have at my juiceries. It's in every one of my smoothies on my menu at my stores. We also sell it online in our website. It's probably one of the best proteins on the market. And I am a little biased, but it's really good stuff. And then we're going to use a plant-based milk today. We're going to use a sprouted vanilla almond milk. I'm really passionate about sprouting our nuts and seeds before we eat them, so we can break down those enzyme inhibitors and activate the nutrition inside, making it more bioavailable. We do have in the book a whole section on how to make plant-based milks. So if that's something that you're able to do, I highly recommend it. So much better than the store-bought stuff, because the store-bought stuff has all kinds of preservatives and thickening agents. And oftentimes, like, there's a lot of fillers in there. So it's also pasteurized. So one of the best things you can do is obviously make your own milk. If you can't do that, then that's perfectly okay. You can still make an amazing smoothie at home. But I will go ahead and grab all of my stuff and we'll get into this smoothie demo. Okay. All right. So people always think that I work for Vitamix because I'm always plugging Vitamix, but I promise I don't. Vitamix.
You should probably reach out to them.
I know, right? I probably should. My favorite blender on the market. We use them at all of the shops as well. So I'm using a Vitamix today. I think that making smoothies and other things, like having a high power blender, is really important. There's a lot of great high power blenders. I just happen to love this one. So we're using a Vitamix today. We're going to start now. In the book, I have a whole section on smoothie do's and don'ts. I've actually been on the news a couple of times sharing this as well, because we are known for our smoothies. We've been voted best smoothie in San Diego year after year after year. And we have like a very specific blend process. So I'm going to share that with you today. It's also in the book. But we have a pre-blend process. And there's a few things you want to make sure you're always pre-blending. And that's your base, which is your milk. The Vitamix, we're going to go ahead and find my little markers here. There we are. All right. So we're going to start with 1 cup of our plant-based milk. Again, we're using a sprouted vanilla almond milk today. So we've got that in there. And then we're going to add our protein. I'm using Choice's plant-based protein powder, which is a blend. It's brown rice, hemp, and yellow pea protein. I'm going to do a tablespoon of that. We're also going to use a tablespoon of hemp seeds. Really up that protein and the fiber and the omegas. I mentioned earlier, the belle of the ball is this Blue Magic. I'm sure you've seen like all of the stuff if you're on any outlet of social media, the unicorn things and all the, magical lattes and all that stuff. So Blue Magic's really blown up in the last few years. It's just an algae. It's actually an extract of spirulina, but it's just got this beautiful hue. It's got protein in there. It's got B vitamins in there. It's an energy booster. It's been shown to help with recovery, for example, for athletes after a strenuous workout, things like this. So I personally love it. We're going to do a teaspoon of that in here. I love to use dates. See that there? To sweeten my smoothies. You get the fiber and the minerals plus the sweet. I'm not a big fan of like added sugars, but I have no problem with sugar. I love, whole food, plant-based sugars. So we're going to start with that. So we have our protein, our magic, our hemp, and our milk, and our dates, and we're going to pre-blend those. And that is the key when you're using things like dates. Also, if you're going to add any greens in there, like spinach or kale or anything like that, you want to pre-blend it. So you probably have those kind of smoothies where it's got like the little gritty pieces of greens in there. And it's like, it still tastes okay, but the texture is a little bit, wonky with that stuff. So the way to get rid of that is to do the pre-blending. So we're going to pre-blend this on high for like at least 30 seconds. So let's see, we got it up on high and let's go. It's going to get loud.
Okay.
Now, this would also be the time if you're going to do any nut butters. So, peanut butter, almond butter, those are great ways to boost the nutrition in the smoothie and also to get more calories in there. I love smoothies for breakfast, so I'm always stacking it with, calories, making sure I'm getting enough in there. So anything, again, try to remember anything, that is, like a nut butter, a leafy green, your sweeteners, anything like that's going to go into the pre-blend. All of your powders, all of your fresh, your milk, all those things are going into the pre-blend. After the pre-blend is done, that's when we add our frozens. And that is the key to a really smooth, give me 1 second, I'm going to get something to scoop that. That is the key to a really creamy, smooth smoothie. So the other key is frozen bananas. So we're going to add a cup of frozen banana. A lot of people think they don't like bananas in their smoothie. That's because they've had slimy smoothies, which is what you get when you put a fresh banana in there. So if you slice your bananas and you freeze them and use those to make smoothies, you get more of a milkshake-like consistency, and it's just so much better. We're also going to put a cup of ice in there to add to the frozen, get it nice and cold and thick and creamy. And then we're going to do our final blend. honestly, with what we just put in there, you really don't need more than like 15 seconds, like 10 to 15 seconds. If you
Yeah.
over blend it, you're going to get an over blended smoothie, which is going to be a little bit runny, not
Yeah.
as enjoyable. We want like that milkshake texture. That's kind of what we're going for.
Yeah.
So you can see.
Yeah, I was about to ask, like the pre-blend, what do you look for? Is there a time or is it just a certain consistency?
It's about 30 seconds with a pre-blend. You're not going to overblend the pre-blend because
Mhm.
there's no frozens in there. The trick is not to overblend the frozens. So that's why we do the pre-blend first. That's the challenge when everyone throws everything in there. You've got to blend it long enough to make sure everything's well blended, like all the small stuff, the
Mhm.
spinach and the dates and all those things, but then you're overblending your frozen. So if you do the pre-blend and you get that out of the way, you blend that for like 30 seconds. It's nice and pulverized in there. Then
Mhm.
you add your frozens and you only need to blend it for like 10 to 15 seconds. And you've got this perfect texture, this nice, thick, creamy milkshake-like texture. So
I love it.
that is the key. I wish I could share it with you.
I know. I might have to like come down and,
I
do
know.
another episode at your shop. So
Yes. My next store is going to be in your county. You said you're in Irvine, right?
Mhm.
We're opening our first Orange County. It's San Clemente, so it's still north, but we're
Okay.
making our way outside of San Diego. It's my first outside of San Diego location. We're signing the lease this week, so very
Oh, that's
exciting.
awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, yeah. We'll definitely want to know more about that as you go along with the process. So my other
Absolutely.
question with the Blue Magic, where can
Yes.
people find them?
You know, they popped up everywhere, but I'm all about quality, high integrity ingredients. So I highly recommend sticking with E3 Live is the best. It comes from like Klamath Falls, Oregon. It's the most potent stuff out there. It's just a beautiful company, beautiful product. And they're online. So you can find them online. E3 Live, Blue Magic. That's the best one on the
E3
market.
Live.
There's so many cheap kind of knockoffs out there, and you really get what you pay for. So I really highly recommend the E3 Live. One of the other things I was going to mention to turn this into a bowl, we're also really well known for our bowls. So everyone's heard of an acai bowl, but acai bowl is just really an acai smoothie made a little bit thicker, put it in a bowl with toppings. So you can do it with
Mhm.
any smoothie. So I love making bowls. They're just a little bit more substantial if you want a little bit more. So all you do is you cut the almond milk by 2 ounces. So instead of doing 8 ounces that we just did, you would do 6 ounces. And everything is exactly the same. Just cut the milk by 2 ounces. It's a little bit thicker. You put it in a bowl. You top it off with something amazing like granola, sliced bananas. It's just a nice way to get a little bit more in that, a little more out of the smoothie, turning it into a bowl. So
That's awesome. Well, this, I wish I could just taste it and,
I know.
I think back in the day, someone tried to make an attempt for like what smell-o-vision or something like that back in the day.
That'd be one of these days. We're
One
getting
of
there. I
these
mean,
days.
if we're going to colonize Mars, we can figure that out.
Yeah. Exactly. Nastasha, thank you so much for, taking the time out, to put on demo, to talk about your story, and really just getting plant food, more flavorful, more vibrant, more colorful, and ultimately more nutritious and healing for the body. And I'm, very glad to see that you're doing it in your own way. So that's really, really great to see, and keep it up. So
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to be on.
yeah. And definitely good luck to the seventh location, right?
Yes.
For those that are, wanting to learn more about you, go to one of your juiceries or, get your book, where can they go?
Our website is choicejuicery.com. That's the best place to get the book. It is available on Barnes & Noble and Amazon. It's just the print quality isn't quite as great as the ones that we have through our website. So I always recommend that. If they want to see us, connect with us on social media, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook at Choice Juicery. And then me personally, Nastasha, Nastasha. Don't forget the extra S, McKeon. So you can find me at my handle. You can find me through Choice and, of course, our website.
Okay. And we'll make sure to put all that in the show notes when the episode airs. So thank you
Wonderful.
again so much for taking the time out to share your story and demonstrate for us. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure.
Guys, thank you so much for watching another episode. If you like this, please like, comment, and subscribe. And if you felt like this was a benefit for someone else, please let them know as well. And until then, please say goodbye to Nastasha.
Bye.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching that episode. We hope that you enjoyed it. If you like this, please like, follow, and subscribe. And please follow us for the latest updates for this season, season 5. And if you feel that this was a benefit for someone else, please let them know. And please follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, and YouTube. And thank you so much again. And we will see you on the next one.